What's up, everyone? Rachel West here, along with Bucs reporter Rick Stroud. After that 46-23 win over the Panthers, Rick, how's it going?
Going well. It was quite a 24 hours for the Buccaneers, to say the least.
Exactly. So we're gonna get to today, obviously, but let's rewind it to last night when the Bucs are on their way traveling to Carolina. They get stuck at the airport. There's a delay with their plane. I know after the game, Antonio Brown was talking about how it really helped them bond and kind of build some camaraderie. So do you think that played a role at all in today's win?
Well, sometimes it does. I mean, Antonio hasn't been here very long, so it's probably really good for him. I think most guys would have preferred to get into town after they were supposed to. I mean, they boarded that plane at 1:30 in the afternoon. They were on there for several hours. They took them off into the terminal. They had to bring sandwiches and pizzas, a lot of card games, a lot of camaraderie, and they didn't arrive into Charlotte until 11:30 p.m. Some almost 8 hours after they were supposed to. So it was a short night, but seasons are full of adversity. This one certainly has been in 2020, and they got off to kind of a slow start. I mean, they were trailing in this game, a couple of times, but they definitely played better, and I think that they played for each other. That's what Jason Pierre-Paul said, and ultimately, they came out of here with what they needed, which was a win, but it was also sort of impressive, particularly in the second half.
Right. I don't, maybe plane delays and pizzas and sandwiches. That should be the weekly routine now. I don't know. But moving to today, obviously a very strong performance out of all of them, offense, defense. I don't know what was said in the locker room at halftime, but whatever it was obviously worked because when they came out for that second half, it was really all Bucks the rest of the way.
Well, it was, and I don't know what they said as much as what they did, which was just tighten up some things, particularly on defense. They were chasing the lead. They tied it up at halftime, so they were even, and they knew they were getting the ball coming out in the second half. But the game turned around really, Rachel, on two plays, and the first one is going to go down in Bucs history, if not NFL history, which is Ronald Jones's 98-yard run. You just don't see that in the National Football League. That's a long way to go. But they were selling out. They had pinned them to the 2-yard line, and the Carolina Panthers had really just two players behind their line of scrimmage, and he was able to pop it through there, and then it was a foot race that he had all the way to the end zone. He said he looked up at the jumbotron to try to kind of figure out which way he needed to veer, left or right, to try to make that guy Jeremy Chin have to take a dive and a swipe at him. But he got in the end zone, and that really lifted, obviously, the whole sideline. And then you come back after that on defense. Jason Pierre-Paul gets the interception this week. He had dropped one a week ago. I said he dropped one. He said he was just knocking the ball down. But regardless, that was a big play. They didn't score a touchdown there, but it's a quick 10 points, and they were really on their way. So big day for Ronald Jones, almost 200 yards rushing, which is really something. And he had an early fumble in that game. And Bruce Arians came up to him and said, "Hey, you're our guy. We're sticking with you. Don't let this get you down." And it didn't.
Right. And yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was just going to say. Early in the game, he did have that fumble. So, what does that say in terms of Bruce Arians and his trust in him to really always be a key contributor for the offense?
Yeah, it says a lot because he said that when he fumbled against the Giants, it really it got him in a bad mood. It got not Bruce Arians, but really I think that Ronald Jones was real hard on himself and he kind of checked out a little bit. And today he did not. He kept playing and fought to get that back and then some. And when you can run the football, especially with the offensive line, they had a lot of changes today. Because Ali Marpet was out again with a concussion. Only this time, instead of going with Joe Haig at left guard, they started A.Q. Shipley at center and then moved Ryan Jensen over. And that really seemed to work between those two guys. The communication was really good. Tom Brady was clean. He was sacked one time. I think the whole game wasn't hit very much. So he had a chance to throw for over 350 yards and a couple of touchdowns and 3 touchdowns. He could have had 5, but missed a couple throws. So they can still get better, but this was exactly what this team needed after that just shellacking that they had on Sunday night against New Orleans.
Exactly. And Ronald Jones is clocked at 21 miles per hour, right? So, anytime you can do that, that's pretty good too.
Fast, yeah. Yeah, he's really fast.
So offensively, obviously a great performance. And then you also bring up JPP's interception. Defensively, they started off a little slow, but definitely turned things around. And that interception was really where a lot of the momentum shifted in the game.
Yeah, I think they just played better. I mean, when you get a team down, it's pretty predictable. They're going to have to throw on every down, and Teddy Bridgewater had a lot of pressure, in the second half. I mean, JPP had a sack. He leads his team, I think, with 7.5. You saw Shaq Barrett get one, which was good. He's starting to come alive again. And I think that, the defensive backs did a good job of locking down those receivers. So, they made them one dimensional because they got in front of them. It's a lot easier to play defense that way, but I think they held them to like under 190 yards total offense, and the disparity between yards was maybe one of the most I've ever seen in a game. So they really dominated this Carolina Panther team, which has been pretty competitive. I mean, they took the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City to a field goal game last week. So this is what the Bucs needed, especially when they have two really big games coming up at home.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely major improvements this week. They'll be hoping to improve even more going into Monday Night Football again against the Rams this coming week, back in prime time. So maybe they'll correct some of those issues there. We'll see. But we'll check back in before that game with you, Rick. So thanks for the time today. Everyone, make sure to follow him on Twitter throughout the week for all of your updates. And be sure you're checking out tampabay.com for your full Bucs coverage.